Yeah, this is my slides. So there was a surprise, and you see what the title is of my talk, and then we had the puppy. So where's the puppy? Okay, so there'll be another surprise, right? I have a guest with me. So my name is Luxshan. I'll introduce myself in a couple of slides. I was here last year doing the same thing. Anyone here last year? Me? Yeah, you don't have to applaud. Um, I was also here, so. Okay, so I brought some comic strips. I brought some new comic strips. I also brought some of the old ones. So if you've seen them before, please pretend like it's still fun, okay? Because they're real good, so I had to bring them again. And, I have a message with all of this, because I think we should have more humor in our work lives. Do you agree? Huh? I know it's Germany, it's Friday, late. Well, I tried. I think humor is a way of talking about stuff that doesn't work well. And in Agile, not everything's perfect, right? So what we make is comic strips together with my partner Mikkel. We make comic strips where we depict these micro scenarios when Agile meets reality. We make people laugh, discuss, and hopefully also improve it through comic strips, workshops, courses, and whatnot. So let's jump into it, okay? This introduction. Then I'm going to show you some comic strips. And do you like my animations? Huh? There's going to be a surprise. And then goodbye and see you next year. So the boring stuff. It's about me. This was me before COVID, when I was a bit thinner. I'm the writer of this stuff. I would have had a couple of books, but I didn't want to ruin anything for Aino, because you're the book person at this conference, okay? So didn't want to steal your show, rain on your parade. But we published a couple of books with comic strips and some text on how to actually manage these anti-patterns. I work as an independent Agile consultant, like many of you also. Worked in different Agile roles the last 13 years. I've been a product owner, a release train engineer, I have Agile coach, a business analyst, and so on. Have a background in software engineering. So, very proud. You remember this one from last year? Very proud to have around 74,000 hardworking professional followers on LinkedIn. We publish a new comic strip every week. And as you know, this is a big number because it equals around 74 million teenagers on TikTok. So it's a pretty big number, right? Published a couple of books. Yeah? You can buy it on our homepage. But clearly something in this Agile space is not working, right? We're talking about this for ages. At conferences, we still keep talking about Agile stuff not working. And we also talk about some architecture as well, and that's really great. But let's start articulating them so we can actually learn from them, right? By using humor. So that's what I want to spread here. So the approach that I take, if we laugh about it, people laugh because they can relate. Then hopefully they'll start reflecting why it is this is fun, because we can relate, and then hopefully they also improve it, right? So this is what we do at the workshops as well, try to help people go through this process. What I'm going to show you now is a lot of characters. I hope you'll recognize some of these people. Last year, we took the approach where we looked at the organization and looked at how does the organization, what process do they go through. Now I want to take another approach where you become an Agile coach, and then you go into an organization, and let's see what people you meet. Okay? So how many people work as Agile coaches or consultants? Yeah? How many work as architects? Oh, yeah. Any developers? Yes? We're all developers, right? Any managers? Yeah. And you're proud of it. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. So how to become an Agile coach? The first thing that happens is someone gets this weird idea that they want to become an Agile coach, right? How do you become an Agile coach? I'm going to show you, okay? First, this aspirant goes to somebody who's already an Agile coach. They say, hey, and I just want to let you know, I'm going to do two things you're not supposed to do. I'm going to read off of the screen because I don't remember the dialogue, so I have to read it. And then I use a font called Comic Sans, and that's okay. If you're a school teacher, or if you make comic strips, okay? So the person who wants to become an agile coach talks to a coach, says, hey. The other person says, oh, hello. I want to become an agile coach, but I don't know how. Can you help me? Sure. Let me borrow your laptop. First you go here, then you click here, delete this, right here, and click here. Congratulations, you're now an agile coach, but you only updated my LinkedIn headline. So it's real easy, right? It's real easy. You can go on courses and certifications, but generally this is how people become agile coaches. I know you did this. I did. And then you want a job as an agile coach, so you go to a job interview, right? And here's the hiring manager on the left and the agile coach on the right. Hiring manager says, yeah, we really want to become an agile organization. And the agile coach says, and I have successfully transformed several organizations. But the real question is, who's the biggest liar? Nobody has done any of this. No organization wants to be agile in reality, right? But all of it trickles down in the end to management. So you get hired as an agile coach. You go into the team, the organization, management. Then you see this weird manager standing here. Like she's saying, come on team, work faster. And you as agile coach, you walk to her and say, can I have a word with you? When we work agile, we don't pressure our teams to run faster. It's not sustainable, motivational, nor the management approach that we want. Okay. Instead, we want to deliver more value frequently to the customer. Come on, team, add more value at a goal. Yeah. So, what we want to teach our dear managers, there are some of them here. I guess people who are here actually get it. So you can tell all your colleagues who don't get it how to do it. It's not about 100% utilization. Right? We don't want to look busy to be busy and deliver value. So when you fill up your capacity at PI planning or sprint planning or wherever goal-setting activity you have, don't fill up the capacity and commit to 100%. Stay around 70%, right? Because then when unforeseen stuff happens, you actually have wiggle room, wiggle space to manage that. Unforeseen stuff happens when we develop software, right? Right? Yeah? Yes, good. So they need to learn that. We got to teach them. Here's another manager we meet on our journey. I really believe in empowering you guys as a Scrum team, and I fully support you in self-organizing. So don't ask me how to do things. I completely trust you all to make the right decisions in your daily work. Then, of course, the developer asks, but since you don't really understand our architectural discussions and technical dilemmas, how could you make those decisions anyway? Come with me, Diego. I just made a decision that I can make. So this is not really empowerment, right? So what we want managers to pass on is not the technical decision-making, because that's already with the teams. Managers don't know anything about that. Or if they do, it's outdated, right? So what we want to pass on is stuff that they can actually make decisions about, like actually prioritizing, right? Stakeholder management, conflict resolution, and so on. The more autonomous the team is, the faster they can deliver value, right? Without involving all sorts of other people. Of course, they have dependencies, but let the team manage that with the dependent teams. Then we meet another manager. So many managers, right? Maybe it's even a director, who knows? So she says, Sandy's team has a velocity of 20 story points per sprint, while yours is only 12. Okay, Scrum Master tries to answer, right? Yeah, but you can't really compare the two teams' velocities. I can't? No, their velocity is apples and ours is pears. But they're both fruits. And I like apples better than pears, so I want more apples. So I hope nobody compares velocities to each other in your organization. That doesn't happen, right? Yeah, good. Because velocity, the sprint velocity, for instance, is only for the teams. It's not for anyone else. It's for the Scrum Master to look at how does it fluctuate? Does it fluctuate a lot? Then we might better do something about it. And for the product owner to have an idea of when stuff can be delivered. It's not for anyone else to convert it into hours and report on it. They can do all of that stuff, but don't involve the team members in any of it. Okay? Okay, managers? Good. So here's another manager, developer talking. Therefore, I'd really like to go on that Kubernetes course. Sorry, manager says, but we don't have the budget for courses this year. Have you heard that before? Yeah, no, you have lots of money in Germany. So, manager says, couldn't you learn about it from some of the other developers instead? It's worth a shot, I guess, the developer says a little bit later. How come your velocity last sprint was only 12 when it's usually around 20? Because we invested some time in pair programming and mock programming. Get it back up to 20 this sprint, and don't waste your time sharing knowledge. It slows down your deliveries, right? So what we need to learn is that sharing knowledge is really important, but it's an investment. Yeah? You don't necessarily pay with dollars or euros or whatnot, but you pay with a part of your velocity. And that's okay. But the people worrying about that need to understand this. So we have all these challenges. How do we fix all of this? How do we fix it? Any ideas? Shout it. We hire external consultants. Of course we do. I'm an external, so now it's a very good idea. And then there they are from Agile BS Consulting. You have met them. They have different names, but they're from the same mother organization called Agile BS Consulting. Do you know what BS stands for? Agile Business Solutions. Yeah. If you were here last year, you know this. Okay, so here's a manager talking to these Agile consultants. I feel there's a gap between our new Agile organization and our official organizational setup. But I really don't want to push for a reorg. It's too much of a hassle. The consultants have an answer. Your organization needs a dual operating system. The first OS is your official organization, and the second OS is your Agile one. In this way, you can do your Agile thingy without changing anything in your real organization. Problem solved. That really works. This is what happens. So, but if you have this, right, there's going to be a lot of mapping from the network-based organization to the other in regards to roles, processes. They might even have a waterfall gate-based, stage gate-based process over here, and then you have sprints over there. And then what you need is what you call an Agile project manager. You know, it hurts just saying the words. Agile project manager. And that's people who manage this mapping. So instead of having two different worlds and some sort of stupid-ass role to map this, sorry, they're not personally stupid, but the role is stupid, go with the network-based organization and make it the formal one. So if you have a tribe or an Agile restraint, make that your actual organization. Don't spend a lot of energy and time mapping it to some sort of formal hierarchy behind all of that, okay? That would be my advice. So here's a big boss talking to the small bosses. It's going really well with our Agile initiative. We can all be proud. We now have, there's a question from the small boss. We now have Scrum and Kanban teams running as Agile release trains, but shouldn't we change as managers as well? Nope, you misunderstood something. Agile is all about teams. Since we're not part of teams, it's got nothing to do with us, he says. Now on to something important, the annual budgeting process. Okay, so what we must understand that we're shooting at managers right now, and we need to shoot at them, right? But they're also a result of the system, right? As many people said in their talks, we need managers to manage the system, not the people, right? So if we fix the system so we don't have yearly funding, we don't lock the project triangle. You know the project triangle? Scope, budget, resources. If you don't lock that, then we're not in this situation. But if you're forced to lock that triangle once a year, then you know, a product owner, for instance, doesn't have much wiggle space, right? So we want to fix the system, go into more agile-based ways of funding if you need to do it like that. Cost-based, value stream-based funding, and so on, beyond budgeting. The dear middle manager is in a predicament, right? Here they are, not very happy, because on one side, we have the big manager saying, get in control. The other side, they have the team saying, empower us. So who's going to shoot first, right? I think it's the big boss. So the general problem we see in the organization that they want to solve with this agile stuff often is something like this. A business on one side and IT on the other. There's a huge gap, the whole Grand Canyon in between those two silos, right? And what we do is we introduce the product owner. Hey, any product owners? You dare admit it? Yes, but they're sad because they don't have a product and they don't own anything and they have no mandate. They just as I was a product owner for 3 years, and that's when I got fat. Oh, so what happens is there's a manager who comes to a team and says, "I want you to work on this." Team says, "It's not really agile for a manager to tell us what to work on." A little bit later, he's back. "I want you to work on this right away." For the people in the back and on the balcony, he's wearing a PEO hat. Okay? So for some reason, we think that if you have people accountability, then you can have all sorts of accountabilities. So you'll also have product accountability. But let's remember that being a PO is a full-time job. Right? You look inwards towards the team, help break down requirements and needs and whatnot, but you also look outwards towards the market, competitors, doing discovery. How can you do that and also have 15 people report to you at the same time? Then you're going to do some of this, not one of those two jobs, not very well. So they find someone from the business, right? They find someone from the business. We want to bridge the gap. So we send someone over, and then this happens. Scrum Master's happy, though. It's so great to have someone from the business take up the PO role. PO is also happy. It's all about, I'm also really happy to get closer to you guys. It's all about bridging the gap between the business and you engineers so we can become one team. Great, let's get started. Then, of course, the developer has a question. Should we prepare our backend for future vertical scaling, or should our focus rather be on normalizing the data for improving the performance? Yeah, and we're missing some non-functional requirements. What the product owner from the business hears is, has no idea what it is. So this is the developers needing to speak, or you architects needing to speak human language when you speak to a business PO, right? What does not meeting the NFRs, what does that actually mean for the end users and the customers? Like low availability or performance? What does it actually mean as in regards to user experience? There's also another challenge with the PO role. Here's a customer asking the product owner, "So could you add a view of the historical performance to the application? Great suggestion. Let me talk to my immediate internal stakeholder group and get back to you." And then there he is. That's galactically big. So what I learned when I was a PO was that all of these people think they're important, but they're not really important. So you can categorize them and figure out who you actually need to involve before making decisions, right? Not just PO decisions, but any decisions, basically. What I thought was fun about being a PO was this part: product discovery. Figuring out what new stuff to do, looking into the horizon, finding customer needs, converting it into something developers could do. But sometimes product discovery in reality looked a bit like this. Yeah. There is some sort of requirement specification anyways, right? So what we want is for that requirement spec to be as high level as possible. Could it be just about a domain or a value stream or on a higher level without actually talking about the scope, right? We don't want the POs to just drive technical scope clarification, not just technical discovery, but also scope-wise discovery. So therefore, we want the requirement spec, if you need to have one, be very high level, right? If you could predict the scope, then no need to work agile. So, to help all of this, we need a Scrum Master, right? Any Scrum Masters? Yes? Yeah, good. And they also get hired at some point, right? So they're at a talk here, job interview. Hiring manager says, "Yeah, we're a team-oriented agile organization, and our teams are the foundation of everything we do." Probably have heard this, right? He continues, "Besides our developers, even we managers work as teams, and so does HR, marketing, sales, and all other staff functions. Sounds good. I can't wait to start." A bit later, "Welcome, let me introduce you to your team." And here's the team. That's not a team, is it? I think we heard some definitions of teams yesterday and today, right? But for me, it's a small collection of people who work towards same goal, who have a common goal. And in my experience, 5 to 7 people is what works. Maybe even only 5, something like that, because then you can actually get to know each other, right? If you have a larger number than that, you start making sub-teams anyways. But some organizations have no clue what a team is. They consider themselves team-based. Silly, 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 silly. So here's a manager talking to a Scrum Master. Congrats with your new Scrum Master certification. How's it going with your team? Pretty good, actually, the new Scrum Master says. Even though we never have a sprint goal, the PO doesn't want sprint reviews, and the developers hate doing sprint retrospectives. I really feel we're getting into the agile spirit. So what are you doing? We agreed to call it Kanban. Yeah? So if Scrum is difficult, just do Kanban, right? No. Kanban is a different approach, right? It's a flow system where when you have capacity, pull in work. So if you have like a very operations-heavy life or a context that's very agile, then it could make sense with Kanban, but it's a whole different way of working, really, right? You can take elements into Scrum, but if Scrum is difficult, figure out why it is. I'm not saying Scrum is the truth for everyone, but if you can't even lock down your scope for 2 weeks and create a collective goal, figure out why that is. Yeah? And we want, if we're talking about Scrum, focus. Creating focus is one of the values of Scrum, right? Focus, we also have openness and respect and all these others. But focus is really important because today, something like this can happen. We have a developer thinking about something highly complex. How can we get those two to meet? Maybe he can build some modules over here and call this function over there. Maybe here's more, and then poof, hey Dave, your other team needs your help, right? So if you're part of several teams, you're going to have some context switching, and that messes you up. So one problem is context shifting. The other is what we call team cognitive load. Yeah? Anyone read Team Topologies? You must have all read that one since you're here. Yeah? People should get that as an entry gift, actually. So the thing is, team cognitive load is defined in the Team Topologies book as, I'm going to read here, the total amount of mental effort a team uses to understand, operate, and maintain their designated systems or tasks, right? So this is not about context shift right now. It's about having a lot of stuff in your head to juggle with at the same time, right? And on top of what they actually have to deliver, sometimes the manager comes by and says, team, you now also own our integration platform, cloud strategy, and clean code initiative. We expect you to master origami with your eyes closed, right? So they expect you to do all sorts of weird stuff when you're in an enterprise. And this is also something that hinders the flow of value delivery for a team. Luckily, I made a free TCL self-assessment. I know the Team Topology guys are also working on it, but for some reason it's not out yet. But in whatever form you want to do it, self-assess this. Have the teams tell you how loaded they are. Figure out how to unload some of that mental capacity. So that's one of the challenges for teams. Another challenge and the foundation for working agile is psychological safety. Yeah? The ability to actually be yourself, to fail without fearing reprimands and consequences. If we can't do that, we can't really implement empiricism, right? So how can we inspect and adapt if we're not allowed to make mistakes? So here's the consultant talking. The lack of psychological safety is detrimental to a successful agile transformation. Therefore, dear managers, no one should be punished for errors or questions in the pursuit of continuous improvement or higher performance. Sounds good, right? So a bit later, manager goes to her team. So I want you to know that it's totally fine to voice your opinions, whatever they are. Developer has a question, or a comment. Okay then, I don't see how line management adds any value to our agile way of working. Pack your things. Not much psychological safety here. So what we want, one of the things we want to come top down is actually psychological safety, right? But there are other aspects to psychological safety than fearing stuff from your manager. So I'm happy, the manager says, that you guys scored so well on our internal psychological safety assessment. Team agrees, yeah. And even though you're our boss, we can challenge you if we don't agree, fail our experiments without getting punished for it, and truly be ourselves. A little bit later, Scrum Master talks to the team. So, I think it's time that we start doing some pair programming to share knowledge and increase our code quality. Haha, I'd love to see Dave's code. I don't want to show it. This is going to be fun. So the point is, it's not that, Dave, don't worry. The point is, it's not just upwards, it's also to the sides, right? So you can also not have psychological safety, inferring, showing your vulnerabilities, your failures, your code to your colleagues. It's not just about being afraid of the manager, but your colleagues as well. So you can self-assess this as well, and other people more intelligent than me have made assessments, but start talking about it, start measuring it, so you can actually improve it, right? It can also be among Agile coaches. So here, a group of Agile coaches talking, which is basically what we do, just stand around and talk. So one of the reasons I love working Agile is because of its focus on inclusivity. Yeah, making it safe for everyone to contribute leads to better results. Everyone agrees. When everyone feels part of the team, all perspectives are included, which ultimately improves our decisions, collaboration, value add, and job satisfaction. The fourth Agile coach speaks now. So, since we're struggling with dependencies, I had a thought. What if we manage them by using some elements of SAFe? Yeah. So, it's okay with psychological safety as long as it's not about SAFe, okay? To be able to create psychological safety or support it, to have trustworthy team members, trusting them, becoming high-performing teams and so on, it won't hurt having what we call emotional intelligence. Have you heard about that? Yes? You have a lot of it, right? Right. So it's basically, I'll define it in a comic strip. So, consultants are back. Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is the ability to recognize and understand one's own and others' feelings. Right? This will help you lead your teams, resolve conflicts, communicate effectively, build empathy and trust, and much more. So, a little bit later, Scrum Masters with developers saying, why doesn't this compile? And I can't find the bug the users reported. They're really angry. Oh, fixed. It works now. Yeah, woohoo, happy. Oh, failing again. I hate my life. Scrum Master thinks, how's EQ going to help me when the emotions fluctuate more than our sprint velocity? And I have to admit something here. The punchline that the Scrum Master thinks is actually written by ChatGPT. Only this one. I just asked it, I'm making a comic strip about emotional intelligence in an Agile team. Please write a punchline. And then it wrote this one, actually. Yeah, it's coming for us. Maybe ChatGPT and Miguel can then just make their own strips. Oh, anyways. Continuing on the topic of emotional intelligence, I really think, two Agile coaches talking, I really think we as Agile coaches should become better at asking the right questions and listening more. Yeah, we should coach others to find the solution themselves instead of always just telling them how. A little bit later, Scrum Master wants help from the Agile coach. Scrum Master says, our stories always spill over and we never meet our sprint goal. Why is that? The Agile coach asks. I don't know, maybe because we're working with a new technology? How could you manage that? I don't know, that's why I'm asking you. What are you feeling right now? So it's all about also kind of regulating the stance you're in. Don't be in a coaching stance if what the Scrum Master really needs is an advisory stance from you. Having emotional intelligence will help you find the right stance at the right time as well, right? So let's talk a bit more about the teams. Okay? Here's a Scrum Master talking to the teams. You won't believe it, guys, but I convinced management to go agile or go full agile or whatever you want to call it. Team member says, oh, why on earth would you do that? Now we have to go to all sorts of stupid meetings. We just want to code, give us a requirement specification, and leave us alone. Right? So Why is it we're working agile, right? Did anyone ask the developers? So I think there are a lot of meetings, right, when you're working agile, but all the meetings in Scrum at least are for either planning or inspecting. We inspect in order to adapt, inspect the plan or the process or the product, and we plan for the sprint goal and the product goal, right? It's all the other meetings that take up our time. The department meetings, reporting meetings, budget meetings, status meetings, and so on. So get rid of those meetings and just keep the agile ceremonies and the refinements, and then you'll be good. But for all of this to work, because teams have dependencies, your teams have dependencies also, right? Then we could actually categorize them, just like they do in team topologies, for instance. But there are some traps in that as well. So realizing that we have different types of teams, that's something everyone does. But let's start categorizing them and use the language. So for instance, the stream-aligned team. So this is the team that delivers end-user value. Typically, it has some sort of front end that the actual users can relate to. But the trap here might be that we're so cross-functional and generalized that we're not really good at anything. Yeah? Then we have the enabling team. So this is a team that teaches the stream-aligned teams maybe specialist competencies from themselves or from another team. And the trap is we're supposed to teach our competencies to the other teams, but we just do the work ourselves. It's much faster. Right? Nobody wants to invest in knowledge sharing. Then we have the complicated subsystem team. And this is like very intelligent people, right? They're very specialized. They like very advanced systems. People think that our systems require very advanced competencies, but we just don't want to share our knowledge. We all know these guys, right? And then we have the platform teams, which might be relevant for some of you. And they basically work on a platform like a cloud platform or a Kafka, or however you define a platform. And they maintain that so the value stream teams can actually use it. And they say, without us, the stream-aligned teams couldn't deliver any value. Also, we hate talking to end users and all other people. So, and they do. That's why they're in the platform team, okay? Just put them there. So categorizing teams according to something actually recognized, widely recognized, could be an idea, because then there are ways of actually getting these teams to collaborate. And I'm not going to talk about that, but that's also part of the whole team topologies approach. When you have categorized the teams, we can optimize how they work. Yeah? How they collaborate. So here's the manager. There, our teams are now aligned with the 4 team topologies types. They're circled around all the teams. A little bit later, Scrum Master comes. I like the team types and all, but calling ourselves a complicated subsystem team hasn't helped reduce all the other teams' dependencies to us. None of the other teams build up any of our knowledge or skills. It doesn't help us nor them become a stream-aligned team. So, what do you suggest? That we stop categorizing our teams and share competencies instead? No. Do you know how expensive those books were? Right? So categorizing teams is also a way of treating the symptoms. Right? So let's figure out why the dependencies are there. What can we do to actually remove the dependencies? Some of them we cannot remove, but we want to maximize the number of stream-aligned teams. Yeah? Because the other teams are bottlenecks. Yes? What about the architect in all of this? Yeah, we've got to talk about the architect. So here's a Scrum Master. I'm so happy that both management and our customer understand the importance of working agile when our domain is so complex. Product owner agrees. Yes, moving away from the enormous requirement specification phase up front has really helped us adapt as we get wiser. And then Alan comes. Alan is the architect. Hi, Alan. Hi, guys. Where have you been the last couple of weeks? At home making our target architecture here. Right? So why is it that we accept that business requirements cannot be fully defined up front because we live in a dynamic, agile, complex world or whatnot, VUCA, but for some reason we still expect architects to come with the full truth from the beginning? It's kind of a dilemma here, right? A double standard. So we don't want architects to sit up here and dream up everything. I know, of course, none of you are sitting up there. Right? But all the other architects, they should be with the teams, figuring out what needs there are and then building some sort of architecture based on that. I know it's easier said than done, But then comes in all the stuff about evolutionary architecture and all that blah, 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 right? So here's Alan, he continues. Today, the application architecture should not be defined up front, but emerge over time in accordance with the desired target state. It's about creating an evolvable architecture that can be changed incrementally as we get wiser on the customer needs and our technical possibilities. So what does all that mean in practice for us developers when we code our applications? I'm waiting for the answer to emerge. I hope you got some answers in this conference, at least, on some of these topics. It could be looking at patterns. I think, like Dave talked about in the previous talk, recognizing what patterns you're using, connecting that to the actual changing business needs and realizing whether you need to change to another pattern to accommodate the needs. That could be one way of doing it. But in order to measure whether your architecture has the right attributes, there's the concept of fitness functions. How many saw Thomas Mook's talk yesterday? Yeah? Thomas also saw it? Yeah, good, good. So fitness functions, Alan continues, provide an objective integrity assessment of the desired characteristics of our architecture, such as how well we meet our NFRs, our level of cyclomatic complexity, or a degree of modular coupling. Yeah? So they're manual or automatic checks that verify how evolutionary our architecture is through tests or metrics. Each fitness function represents each requirement for our architecture. Sounds good, right? Yeah? I hope this is what Thomas also said. So a bit later, team, this is where it hits reality, right? Team says, oh, the performance fitness function shows that our response time is too high. And the other developer says, but the security fitness function is too low. We need better encryption. And our cyclomatic complexity is through the roof. Which one should we address? Alan, yeah. Yeah, just jumping. So the key here is, of course, to prioritize also your non-functional requirements, right? Then you know which one to go for to begin with. And having this holistic picture, like having holistic fitness functions also a good way of looking at things, right? Not just these composite ones, but like a collective one. I'm not an expert on it. So if you have questions about this, don't come to me, okay? So here's Alan continuing now, right? We need to build system-wide fitness functions, evolutionary database designs with evolving schemas and data so we can create an emergent and evolvable architecture. Developer asks, but why? Because we're going to take a new approach to our development practices. What new approach? RDD. What does that stand for? Resume-driven development. This is especially relevant for you architects, because then you can just say you had a lot of buzzwords on the CV and you can get a new job when your architecture breaks anyways, right? So let's remember to match all these fancy new movements that are happening out there with the actual reality, right? And in the middle of all of this, somebody starts talking about scaling Agile. So who's running in a scaled Agile setup like Safe, Nexus, Spotify, whatever? Ish. Oh, good. Not too many. That's good. So here's an internal Agile coach saying, based on my observations, interviews, and metadata from deployment pipelines from numerous teams, I strongly suggest that we invest in removing our dependencies to accelerate our team's delivery of value. Management group says, you are too ideological. That might work in theory, but this is real life. Here's an external consultant. You have many dependencies. You need Safe. Take our money. So let's figure out why we need some sort of scaling framework to manage our dependencies. Should we rather invest the money in removing dependencies, maybe? Right? Rather than having overhead to manage it. It's not easy to remove dependencies, I know. And often it's because of the original architecture, Conway's law, and all this that we have dependencies. But maybe we can remove some of them by building up competencies in different teams, right? So, two Agile coaches talk about Safe. I like the increased focus on flow in Safe 6.0. In particular, I like that they made flow an explicit part of the Safe principles, and they actually did. Especially the 8 flow accelerators will get value delivery going. You know what would really accelerate flow? What? Breaking dependencies between teams and not having to run Safe. And when is all this madness over? This whole agile movement, agile transformation. Any one of you in the middle of an agile transformation? Yes. And when is it over? Right? So the manager asks, is it ever over? When can we consider our agile transformation done? Agile coaches say, well, that's difficult to say because we're really never really finished. Yeah, our teams and organizations will continuously be improving themselves, and I'm sure you can figure out a way to answer this question. And it needs to be backed by data. A bit later, they're back. So we think that our agile transformation can be considered as a success when, don't worry about it, I figured out when it's done. Really? When? When the transformation budget runs out. Yeah? That's when you're agile. Didn't you know? So let's remember, I'm nearing the end now. So let's remember, using Scrum to become agile, or Kanban, or SAFe, using whatever method or framework to become agile is a bit like using a scale to lose weight. It's not going to make you lose weight. It's just going to show you how terribly bad you are at something, right? So why do you have all these red block tasks over on the board? Figure out why that is. Why do you have these dependencies? Remove the reason to have these dependencies, and then you can be more of an agile team, learning about exercising habits, eating habits, I guess I heard, is what will actually make you lose weight if that's what you want. So figure out how to not just treat the symptoms, but fix the root cause. So clearly something is not working when we are working agile, right? My goal here is to communicate to you, talk about it, use humor to talk about it. You can use whatever format you like. I use comic strips. You can sing, paint, make like a theater about it, whatever. Do a play. Please talk about what's not working in your own way. Thank you for your attention. I have to do some shameless plugging as well. I do courses based on Management 3.0, also in Germany, in Berlin in March, April in Munich. Sign up if you want to learn something and have fun at the same time. It's about agile leadership. And now, it's time for a little surprise, isn't it? So I would like to introduce to the stage now a homie of mine. Yeah, I said homie. His name is Adam Janosch, and he's an agile consultant, an agile rapper. Please make some noise for Adam J.
Thank you for having me here, and I really like the comic strips, right? Who like the comic strips? Maybe some applause for Lux?
We don't want distortion.
What?
Could you turn off the distortion, please? Yeah? Can you say something? Or the what's it called? Yeah.
Okay,
Echo.
hello, sound check.
Yeah,
1, 2,
nice,
3,
nice.
do you hear me? I'm a Scrum Master, whatever that means.
So what Adam did was make a song about agile architecture. And he's going to perform it now. Do you want to hear it? Let me just do the technical stuff here. Is this the right thing I'm doing? Yes, it is. And I'm going to help with the chorus. Woohoo!
No pressure, nobody's watching you.
Should we start it?
Yes, let's start. We have switched the screens. Oh, nice, great.
I'll start from the beginning. Yes. Let's do it.
Already?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Software architecture, it sounds so grand, like building castles upon cold sand. But when the changes roll in, understand, sometimes it crumbles like a host of cards unplanned. You aren't gonna need it, a developer's plea. Don't build that feature, let it be. But as far as I see, sometimes it's Yagni, sometimes maybe KISS is the motto, simple as pie. But when we overcomplicate, we can't deny, we strive for clarity. Give it a try, there's a fast lane for change requests, and I wonder why. Don't repeat yourself, don't repeat yourself. DIY, oh dry, like a fine Bordeaux. But when sand gets in the gears and starts to slow, you want code that's clean like a clear wine's glow.
Agile architecture, Yakni kiss dry. Agile architecture, attainable, scalable, flexible. Agile architecture, Yakni kiss dry. Agile architecture, attainable, scalable, flexible.
Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. A fool with a tool is still a fool. Let's redefine some rules. Feel as free as in an infinity pool. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Please avoid the over justification. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Customer relation, it's the best foundation. You can search for contract loopholes or pioneer the next innovation. Responding to change over following a plan. We inspect and adapt like a steering man. If you're agile and you know it, clap your hands. If you're agile and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're agile and you know it, why don't you release?
Ooh. Agile architecture, Yakni kiss dry. Agile architecture, attainable, scalable, flexible. Agile architecture, Yakni kiss dry. Agile architecture, attainable, scalable, flexible. Agile architecture,
Yakni kiss dry.
Make some noise.
Thank you.
Wow.
Hey, is it time for a selfie or something? So remember this.
Let's make a selfie. Oh, okay.
It's complicated.
Can you pretend like you just had fun? Woo. Thank you. That was it. We hope to see you again next year. Let's end on a high. Thank you for joining. See you next year.